Hey y'all, hey, it is Sunshine and I am back with another video finally. And today I want to talk about the money. I want to talk about the abundance that may be in your chart, the abundance in life. The holiday just passed. We are approaching, um, Christmas time, which is just a magical time of the year. No matter what your beliefs are, it is just a great time, and we tend to spend a lot of money during this time of year. Hopefully you all did not go and spend all of it during Black Friday. um, but in your chart it will show if you tend to get into a lot of debt. It will show if you can bring in a lot of money. It will show if you have the millionaire aspect. All of these people on screen, as you can imagine, I'm sure they have a millionaire aspect in their chart. And they have other configurations that show that they can definitely get money in this lifetime. So let's get into it. Okay, so when I'm looking at a chart for financial reasons, and I do have for my returning clients, I have a deluxe package that includes your financial snapshot. Because in our session for your natal consultation, I can't go over every single thing in a chart. It just will take way too long. So we may get to a money part and I may go over a little bit, but I won't go into depth. It just depends on how the session is going and the questions that the client is asking. But if a person wants to know more, we want to delve deeper into it and even see about cycles, the financial snapshot package is definitely there. And this is kind of what I would do if someone paid for that package. So, you know, looking at how you will earn money in this lifetime. And so we're not going to talk about career, although that may come up. That's obviously tied to it. But there are different ways that money can come into your life. It could be through your career, obviously, right? But it could also be side ventures. It could be, something to do with, oh, well, you're going to make money dealing with the arts, whether that's acting, dancing, creating artwork, something of the nature. It could be from speculation, so somebody investing, somebody, being a poker player. It could be from a spouse. It could be just from teaching. There's so many different things that you could possibly see in someone's chart to determine where money or the source of money can come from. And also looking at, does this person, does it take a long time to get their wealth? Does it come when they're younger? There were so many charts that I could have looked at, and I don't want to make this video too long. But eventually I will have a course on it because it is just so fascinating. I've looked at so many charts of celebrities, young and older, and seeing the configuration they have in their chart, and it is just amazing. But you can see some people who it took a long time, it took hard work to get to where they are. Other people, it came when they were kids. um, and the different cycles will show, just obviously transits and progressions will show kind of what happened with the money, if they continue to allow the money to grow, if they went bankrupt, all of those things. Also, what we want to look at in a chart is talent. People, everybody has talents, they have gifts in certain areas, but sometimes that person doesn't have the confidence to pursue that. And I have a wonderful teacher that I've learned from and love in the Hindu astrology that talks about this all the time, that this person just may not have the confidence to be able to go out there and do it, right? And it may be surprising in a chart because sometimes you can see that a person has these gifts and these talents and they can, really do this great work, and maybe they can write, maybe they can dance, maybe they have just this great personality, but they don't feel good enough, right? They are concerned about being judged. All of these things that can come into play that may hinder them or stop them from going after this gift. So you look at that. Also, like I said earlier, where the money may come from. So we are going to look at different charts. Some of the things that I will look at today will be, the aspects in the houses. So Jupiter, a planet of abundance, right? It expands anything it touches, whether it's good or bad. You have Venus, Pluto, the moon, and the moon is as we know, it ebbs and flows. And so sometimes the moon is a little concerning when you see it in the money house because things can kind of go up and down. But it is a fruitful planet, or it's not a planet, it is a star. Okay. But for, you know, just understanding, we label the sun and the moon as a planet just to make it easier. But it is very fruitful. So that is important when you do see that, because it can grow, and it's it can come in masses. It is good. So if you do see that, you just want to kind of make sure you look at that a little bit further and a little bit more in detail to see how strong it is and what it's connected to. But I mean, if it's connected to Jupiter, obviously, I mean, that's just a beautiful aspect to have, moon and Jupiter, right? Like, in no matter where it's at in your chart. But if it's in a money house, ooh, honey, you might be okay. You might be okay. You are positive. And then you have that, the positivity in that aspect in the money house. Yeah, you're probably doing pretty okay in life. Depending on other aspects you have in your chart. I look at Venus and Jupiter, Jupiter and Pluto. Definitely, definitely an aspect that to look at. Um, Looking at, I've read or heard that Jupiter and Neptune is also a millionaire aspect. Now, I have not looked at that in depth yet, so I might have to go back through all my other charts and look to see, hey, is this pretty prevalent in these other charts? But they have all these other things, so I don't even know if you need it. But that did come up in a lottery winner's chart that I may touch on at the end. Venus Pluto. Um, that's another one that you want to look at if there's aspects in the chart, and especially if it's connected to the money house. Venus Pluto, I mean, that's intense, just personality wise, but money wise, I think it's good. They're definitely going to focus and get the money. Saturn in the second house, believe it or not. I mean, I was surprised to see that in someone's chart because Saturn is it can be a restrictive planet, but it's a planet about hard work. And so that can be a good one. And I don't know if I mentioned this, and I apologize if I did, but Jupiter, Saturn can bring lifelong wealth. So you just money's gonna just come through. Um, Prince Charles has Saturn in the second house, and now he didn't have to wait for the money, right? He waited for the title, but there's things that come with the title that he had to probably wait for. But that does show. I mean, Saturn can also mean old money. Um, so and especially if Saturn is connected to the fourth house, just all of those things that can come into play. So let's look at some people's charts to see what they have here, and then you can look at your own chart to see, how is this in my chart or in people's chart that right? So let's see here. Who do we have first? Ooh, Jerry Seinfeld. I used to love his show. Okay, So I am going to look at the Placidus chart first. Okay. Let's see here. So he has. Let me turn on my pointer here. I think. Okay. So he has Jupiter in the second house here. That right there, I'm just gonna, that's enough. He has Jupiter in the second house. Um, And if we were to do a whole sign chart, Jupiter and Venus both will be in the second house because Venus here is in Gemini. They're not conjunct by aspect, but by sign they are. But that's Jupiter in that house in and of itself is pretty good. We look at other things. I mean, Jupiter is square the moon. Okay. And Jupiter is trine Neptune. So, hey, that works. And Jupiter is sextiling Pluto. Listen, Jerry. If I would have talked to Jerry when he was, before he got, famous, I would be like, listen, Jerry, you gonna be okay. You might be okay. So no, he has it here in this chart. So we would go through that. Um, we can look at, I mean, here in the Placidus chart, I don't really look at the house rulers and where they're placed. I would look at that if it was in the whole sign chart. So his, you know, second house ruler is or would be in the 12th house, which it is here. So you can think about, how that person may get money from, behind the scenes type stuff. And, um, we would go into all of that. And then the moon would move to the 11th house. It's a whole thing. So we would go into that, but I'm not going to do that for the purposes of this video because I do have several charts I want to kind of get through. So I apologize if I go too fast. Please stop and pause so you can look at what I'm talking about here. But I'm just so excited to kind of get through some of these things. All right, so let's look at his Hindu chart. Okay, so in the Hindu system, my teacher always talked about the second house and the 11th house. The second house is income. In the Hindu system, I mean, the second house represents a lot of different things. So you definitely have to think about, um, you know, what area could this really be pertaining to. But if you see that there's an exchange between the second and the 11th house or some type of conjunction or connection, that is an indication of wealth in this lifetime. I've also found in this system as well, if Venus or Jupiter is there, um, that brings in wealth. And here he has Venus, the second house, in its own sign, right? So that's definitely a huge indication of money right there. And then you have the moon in the 11th house. And the 11th house is about ambitions and desires, right? And it's someone's dreams. So the moon being there, these are both very fruitful signs. So the second house has a planet in it. The 11th house has a planet in it. So I'll definitely be like, okay, all right, Jerry, okay, this is another confirmation that you might be okay. You might be okay. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about Jerry's chart without getting into, specifics about the career and things like that. So let's go to Rihanna. All right, Riri. Okay, so she then switched over into the cosmetic industry. And I know some people are in the uproar because they want music and, tours and stuff from her, but she seems really comfortable where she's at. Okay, so in her natal chart, the Placidus chart, let's see, we have um, Venus, a Taurus on the second house, which again is always great to have Taurus or Scorpio on the second or the eighth house. It's just great. I mean, those are the money signs. Okay. So let's see here. So nothing in the second house. Venus here is on the cusp of the first house. Now, if I was to do the whole sign chart, Venus and the moon and Jupiter will be in the first house. And so that's just about her physical appearance, right? Her charisma, her personality. Um, but, Venus is widely conjunct Jupiter. But it is definitely conjunct the moon. So that is nice. That's a growing planet there. Let's see, Jupiter is not aspecting Neptune. Nothing is aspecting Pluto. So nothing there, not a lot there. Okay. But I mean, again, these three here, that's pretty big, and that's in the first house, and it's, um, like I said, I don't get into the rulers that much here, but that is a sign. Okay, so let's see if we see something else in the Hindu chart. Okay, so this is where we get to the nitty gritty. Jupiter is in the second house in her Hindu chart. It's in the second house. I mean, that's enough. Okay, that's it right there. In the Hindu system, they do have, Raja, I think is yogas, where they have different yogas, and I haven't learned all of that yet, but there are some Hindu astrologers who are, who've been with that system since they were, you know, they were young, that is very well versed in the different yogas. And so I don't get into that. I have enough to look at. So I don't, look at that. But there are some who can pick it out very quickly and be like, yep, you're going to be very wealthy. This is going to happen. Hindu system is a very predictive system. It's not about psychology like the Western system is. And so that's why I do look at a lot of different charts, because it brings me different information. But Jupiter in the second house, and then we would look at in more detail, if I was, really looking at this chart, um, you know, how this would come out. Would this be about family life, right? Would this be about educational knowledge? Because that's what the second house in the Hindu system is about. Is this about money? Well, the second house ruler, Mars, is in the 10th house. So, that is about career. Okay. So we would just kind of go through some things with this chart to kind of bring out and talk to Riri, if I was talking to her a long time ago, about how she can get to the money. Okay, so let's go on to the next chart, the client chart, a client of mine. And this person, um, you know, just a regular person. They are in the medical field, and just pulling up their Placidus chart, bam, you have Jupiter in the second house. Okay, Jupiter is square to Pluto, which again, that's a big money aspect. Jupiter, I mean, Venus is there too, is very wide, but it is there. Um, There is nothing to Neptune. So I'll have to, like I said, keep looking at that there. Okay. So do you all see that? I mean, you have Jupiter in the second house. So anything that's in the second, the eighth house is big as well. Um, the fifth house is about speculation. So money from there. Um, the eighth house is other people's money or your spouse's money. I would love to look at Mackenzie Scott's chart. Oh, I wish her information was up there or available because she's married or was married to Jeff Bezos, and we're going to look at his chart as well. But I want to see because her money, came from her husband. So, if you're trying to figure out your money gonna come from your husband, we gotta be choosing well, right? We gotta we gotta look at that. But no, so that's what you want to look at with those houses. So let's look at the client's Hindu chart. Okay, so again, we have Jupiter in the second house. And guess what, y'all? Jupiter is the ruler of the 11th. So remember, I talked about when there's an exchange between the second and 11th house in the Hindu system that can indicate wealth. Was 11th house ruler of, you know, desires, dreams, ambition, side hustles, all of that is in the second house um, of income. Okay, now this person isn't rich. They live a pretty good life as far as financially. Now, we're not going to dissect the whole chart because there's some other things there, but financially, they do pretty well. They live a decent life. So, just wanted to give you someone who just everyday regular smuggler person, so that we're not looking at so many celebrity charts because it's like, okay, obviously celebrities have they're celebrities because of these things, right? But it does show up and happen in other people's charts all the time. All right, let's look at the L'Oreal Air. Okay. So I hope you all are keeping up. Hopefully, I'm not going too fast. Hopefully, it's making some sense. Um, in that you're able to kind of think about other people's charts that you know or your own chart and be like, okay, that makes sense. Now, remember, I'm only giving you a snippet. Okay. When you're looking at somebody's astrology chart, it is a lot that goes into it. And there's a lot of discussion that needs to be had between the astrologer and the person um, to really dissect that chart. But I'm just giving you a little taste, right? Getting your tongue a little wet about how to look at um, the financial or money piece in your chart. So the L'Oreal Air, um, Venus, the ruler, is in the second house. Okay, Jupiter is also there. So voila, there you have it. Um, we can look at, okay, maybe how is she going to get this money? Like how is this going to happen for her? I mean, there's a lot of different things we can look at. I mean, her fourth house is packed with some things, so that will come into play. Let's see here. I would say Jupiter in Pluto. That's a wide sextile. It's a wide sextile. It's also it's a trine to Neptune, so that is there. But um, this Venus in the second house in a Placidus chart does indicate, okay, money and wealth there. All right, the Hindu chart changes a little bit, doesn't have any planets in the second house. It moves to the third house. So let's see. Second house ruler, Mars, is in the fourth. Okay, so I mentioned the fourth house. I mean, obviously she's an heir um, to the L'Oreal brand. I believe it's a woman. I'm pretty sure. I believe it is. Um, so that's kind of how you can see. Okay, all right. Let's see how this plays out. The second house and the 11th house planet, Mars and Saturn, they do aspect each other. The aspects in the Hindu system is different, and how you look at that than the Western, but they do aspect each other. So maybe that's indication as well. But I mean, like I said, the Placidus, the Western system, that was enough for me to be like, okay, okay. And then the eighth house ruler, right, is Venus, which is very strong with Jupiter. Yeah, y'all. It just you just mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wish I had these. I really do. I really do. I have some good ones, so I do. I can't even complain. So I'm looking forward to continuing to get to the money. All right. So let's look at, we've been in kind of like the cosmetic industry, so we might as well just look at Kylie Jenner chart. Um, let's see. She does not have any planets in the second house. Okay, but let's see. And I don't think, let's see, Jupiter here does not really aspect Pluto. It's not aspecting Venus. I guess it's in a Y. No, it's not even aspecting Neptune. So she really doesn't have a lot there in the Placidus chart to show anything. Now, Pluto in the 11th house in the Placidus chart, I don't know. And so she does have a lot of things in the 8th house. And that's, other people's money. So there's a lot there, and I mean, that's pretty packed. That's a pretty packed house. So let's see what's going on in the Hindu chart. Okay, so I know why I wanted to show Kylie's. This is why I look at a lot of different charts, okay? Jupiter is in the second house in the whole chart. I didn't really see much with the Placidus, right? But we know she has money. She, from her family and then developing her own cosmetic line that's there. And then you have the moon in that house as well, in the 11th house. So, um, okay, so that's why I wanted to show that. Let's go to her Hindu chart. All right. Jupiter is in the second house. So there you have it. And then you do have planets in the 11th house. Now, one thing I want to point out here is maybe this is why, well, she started off pretty young. I can't say money came to her later because it didn't. She was really young. But, her first house ruler, Jupiter, is in the second, but it is fallen. And it is retrograde. And my Hindu teacher would say, if it's retrograde, it's your choice, right? It's something you can choose to do. So it may have taken some things for her to be more confident to get out there and do and to go after this. Okay. All right, let's move on to Oprah Winfrey's chart. How can we not do Oprah's chart, right? All right. So, I mean, her chart is just phenomenal as far as the finances. It's just, she has a pretty packed second house in the Placidus system. I mean, you have Pluto in the eighth house. Pluto in the eighth could bring on a lot of wealth. It could bring on a lot of debt too. But, um, I mean, Pluto there is just fantastic. It's just fantastic. All right. So we have, let's see, I can't, yeah, I made this too small. I believe Jupiter is trine. It's a wide trine um, to Venus. I believe so. Okay. It is sextile Pluto. It will be very wide. Pluto sextiles don't really have that much of an orb as like a conjunction or a trine or a square would. So, but that second house, that eighth house, like I said, that's enough for me to see that. All right, her Hindu chart um, is also packed, right? And usually you'll still see that when you move from one system to the other. A lot of the planets will stay in the same houses, but sometimes they do move. So that's why it's really, really important to look at that. But it not only has a, packed second house, but her second house ruler is in the 11th, exalted, and her 11th house ruler is in the second. They exchange signs. Okay, Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, Venus is the ruler of Libra. They exchange signs. I mean, this right here is, I mean, yeah. Again, how she would get the money, that would be um, another video that I will do later. But bang, 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 it's there. It's raining money for sure in her chart, and Oprah has plenty of it. But y'all, listen, it is so many people who have so much money who are not celebrities that you don't even know about. So many people. Um, and that's why we had those reality TV shows back in the day. I think it was like Laguna Beach or Orange. I don't know. You got, Real Housewives of, all these places because these people are earning money, but they weren't necessarily in the spotlight until these reality shows came to light. So there's money probably in your, I mean, there's money in everybody's chart, right? We can all make money and earn money. It's just about our choices. But let's have a look at your chart. I urge you, like, how many of you have really looked at your chart and really looked at your money? Another house that I didn't talk about, the 12th house, is also big in the Hindu system because the 12th house is debts. So you want to also look at that house because maybe you make money, but then you may spend a lot of money, right? You just may go through your hands. And so those are things we want to look at. You want to look at Jupiter transits to see if these are good cycles or a good time for you to maybe go out for a promotion, go out, get more income, start up a business. Jupiter, in contact with the second house ruler, the eighth house ruler, Jupiter transiting the second house, Jupiter transiting the eighth house. You want to look at Pluto transiting these houses as well. Saturn transit in these houses is not so good. Okay, it'll be about hard work, so maybe you'll be able to put in the work, right, to fulfill that goal or dream, but it's going to be limited during the transiting period. It is definitely going to be limited. So let's see. Fifth house transits. Also, you want to see if Jupiter is going to the fifth house. Now, listen. Remember, these houses can mean a lot of different things, right? The fifth house also means children. I've seen people to get pregnant or things come up with their children when transiting Jupiter hits the fifth house. So again, you want to either know what you're looking at, talk to an astrologer to be able to see what area is going to be highlighted during this time. But Jupiter transits to the fifth house ruler, to the eighth house ruler, the second house ruler is always great. Venus transits, again, those are, they move so quickly. It's not really going to be that much of a, you're not going to notice much from that transit. But any transits to your natal Venus, absolutely. You can look at the progress chart. Those are also big timing factors as well. So you want to look at where Taurus and Scorpio is in your house, and see what happens in those areas. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Um, it rules Sagittarius and Pisces. So you want to look at that. Jupiter is amazing, but Jupiter can be not so amazing if you overdo it. So again, please have a look at your charts. If you're interested in more, please let me know. If you like my vibe, please click subscribe. Until next time, peace.